And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Katie Greifeld, taking you through to that closing bell with a global simulcast. Massar and Tim Stenovec join us from the radio booth. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms. Massar, completing our partnership with YouTube here on yet another record-setting day across the board here in the United States.
Kind of wild, right? And you just look at the last half hour or so, we've seen stocks move up to their highs of the session. This on a day where also, the momentum just building here into the close. It's a big week. Fed meeting, 5 of the Mag 7 reporting, U.S.-China trade talks. There's a lot coming out of investors. We'll see if the enthusiasm holds all week.
Apple, Meta Platforms, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Amazon. And Katie, I wonder if there will be questions on the call about the Reuters report, but the layoffs that are happening scheduled for tomorrow or set for tomorrow, according to Reuters, at Amazon HQ.
Have to imagine. So interesting to see not too much movement in the stock on the heels of that report that Amazon laying off 30,000 corporate workers, saying basically that they overhired, which is interesting because that was the narrative a couple years ago when it came to a lot of these big tech companies announcing their layoffs. But we had kind of gotten away from that, but certainly that narrative coming back with this Amazon report.
Yeah, and we should point out, this is going to be, of course, the busiest week for earnings of this season so far, and that includes today. We get some names that could have some consequence to the market, like NXP Semiconductor, Cadence, which is also in the semiconductor software space, Whirlpool, and a few others, including Avis Budget, too.
Yeah, got a day where we're seeing the VIX at just under 16, so a lot of complacency in the market environment on a day when we're going to probably see another record here for me.
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of reasons to clap and cheer here on this Monday afternoon. Green across the screen for U.S. equities and record highs pretty much for everyone who wants one. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up more than 300 points or 0.7%. That's a record high. The S&P 500 up more than 80 points or 1.3% to a record high. The NASDAQ Composite and the NASDAQ 100 each up roughly about 1.8 to 1.9% to record highs. And look at this, the Russell 2000, which is your relative laggard on the day, it's only higher by about 7 points or 0.3%, 2520. If that holds, as we wait for these numbers to settle, that will be, by less than 1 point, a record high.
All right, folks, we already have some earnings crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Just quickly go to it. Avis Budget, third quarter revenue, slight beat, $3.5 billion. Street estimate was for $3.45 billion. And then just talking about third quarter America's per unit fleet costs down 20%. So basically revenue meeting estimates. Let me just see what else we got. Yeah. That looks like what we've got so far, and we're looking at the stock unchanged here in the aftermarket, so we'll keep an eye on it. Hey, S&P 500, let's go back there. Record on Wall Street, highs, finishing near our highs of the session. Katie, 322 names in the S&P 500 actually gaining ground today, 178 to the downside, 3 unchanged.
And certainly when you take a look at the sectors, you saw that strong breadth as well. 9 sectors in the green, that circle almost totally green. 2 sectors in the red. Communication services, big tech, consumer discretionary, those are some of your biggest gainers when it comes to the sectors. Consumer staples and materials, your lone 2 sectors in the red, really points to this risk on appetite that enveloped this Monday session. As Romaine pointed out, materials being down could point to optimism over U.S.-China trade talks, and consumer staples lower on the day, being your biggest loser, certainly bullish as well.
All right, lots of green there. So let's get to some individual gainers. Got to talk about Qualcomm. Everybody talking about Qualcomm. Number 1 gainer in the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100 today, up as much as almost 22% intraday, finishing the day with a gain of 11%. Largest maker of smartphone processors, unveiling chips and computers for the lucrative AI data center market, and they really are looking to challenge NVIDIA in the fastest growing part of the industry. So that definitely caught investors' attention. We got some more earnings, Romaine.
Yeah, let's just hit Cadence since we're talking about chips, a big software design company used by a lot of the folks in the chip space here. EPS in the most recent quarter did beat $1.93. The street was looking for $1.79. Revenue in the most recent quarter also beat $1.34 billion. The street was looking for $1.32 billion. And more importantly here, we talk about the growth in this company, 10% revenue growth on the top line, the bottom line, decent growth there as well, about 17%, and a widening of the operating margins to about 47.6% here, though the shares are moving lower in the after hours trade. And here's why. We're now taking a look at the guidance going forward for the full year. The company says it expects $5.26 to $5.29 billion. It had previously had a range of $5.21 to $5.27 billion. We'll try to get you some more details on this and try to explain why such a negative market reaction.
Let's quickly get over to Bed Bath & Beyond, also reporting earnings as well. You can see the stock is moving higher after hours. That is because when it comes to third quarter net revenue, that came in at $257.2 million. That is actually just shy of estimates, which had been for around $260 million. But then you take a look at the third quarter adjusted EBITDA loss. That came in at $4.94 million. The estimated loss had been for $10.5 million. So much better than expected when it comes to the expected loss, the third quarter adjusted EBITDA loss. You can see shares flying right now, Carol, now up 10% after hours.
Yeah, speaking of stocks flying in the aftermarket, I want to go back to Avis because that stock is up about 9% here in the aftermarket. So investors liking some of what we got from the company, specifically third quarter adjusted EBITDA, really surpassing Wall Street estimates. We're looking at $559 million, up 11% year over year. Estimate was for $538.7 million. So we're seeing some strong numbers from that company, and we're seeing it certainly move higher in the aftermarket. I'm going to go back to some individual gainers as we wait for some more earnings. Keurig Dr. Pepper, have to mention, up 7.6% at the close, among your top gainers in both the S&P and the NASDAQ 100. Keurig Dr. Pepper raising $7 billion from Apollo and KKR to help finance its acquisition of JDE Peet's MV. So you know the company's planning to separate its beverage and coffee businesses by the end of 2026. Also reported third quarter sales of $4.3 billion. And then Cadence Bank, just quickly, up 4.4% here in today's session. That after Huntington Bank shares agreed to buy the bank for $7.4 billion. So we continue to see consolidation, certainly, among the regional banks out there. All right, Tim, over to you.
Well, speaking of, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, just there was some news crossing the wire right now. Carol, we talk about Citizens Bank, First Citizens, excuse me, and Park National Bank, a tie-up there. That headline just crossing the wire.
Well, every one of my movers to the downside this afternoon has to do with M&A or potential M&A here. I want to start with Newmont. Shares falling today. This is of course, the gold, copper, silver, zinc, and mining company. Down 5.7% on the day. Gold declined today, yes, down about 8.4% from those all-time highs earlier this month, but also Newmont is studying a potential deal to gain control of rival Barrick Mining's Nevada gold assets, that according to people with knowledge of the matter. Once again, shares down 5.7%. I know, Romaine, we got some more earnings.
Yeah, Whirlpool earnings out. The company reporting net sales that looks like coming in above expectations, about $4.03 billion. The street was looking for $3.93 ongoing EPS, basically on a continuing basis, $2.09 a share. The street on average is looking for about $1.40 per share here. The company also says that for the full year, it does see EPS of about $7 per share. It had previously provided guidance of $6 to $8 per share. So basically now hitting in the middle of that guidance, and the middle of that guidance at $7 a share is higher than the average of street estimates, which were looking for about $6.41. You see a 1% pop here, Tim, in the after-hours trade.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the press release, looking for commentary from Mark Bitzer, somebody who I know you guys have spoken to quite a bit. We've spoken to him as well. He said that the fundamentals of the business remain strong. They're confident that the newly announced investment in our U.S.-based laundry facilities will continue to fuel our future growth. Jim Peters, though, the CFO, saying that the third quarter results continue to be impacted by the inventory loading from Asia competitors, though they're focusing on what is within our control and delivered cost takeout in line with expectations, putting us on track to achieve approximately $200 million of cost takeout in 2025, Katie.
Yeah, really interested to see some of the details coming from that earnings call specifically. A lot of different angles in which Whirlpool is interesting, especially when it comes to consumer sentiment, but also when it comes to this company, how they're managing that inventory. I will say, you take a look at the shares down about 32% through the close year to date, and then over the 5-year basis down 52%. This is certainly a company that has had a rough go of it.
Yeah, and ahead of earnings, we saw more than 17% of the float short. So, you know, if there's some little signs of improvement, you might see some short covering and maybe explain some of the trade. But we'll keep an eye on it as it continues to bounce around, certainly in the aftermarket. But we have seen pop to the upside, 1.6% higher on Whirlpool. All right, guys, don't forget NXP Semi also coming out after the close a little bit later on today.